morning, I'm Cheryl Atkinson. Welcome to Full Measure. This week, the Senate blocked a bill aimed at cracking down on America's nearly 300 sanctuary cities. Laws in these cities help shield illegal immigrants from deportation even after they've committed felonies. The proposal was motivated by the death of Kate Steinle. In July, she was fatally shot by an illegal immigrant who'd been deported 5 times and convicted of 7 felonies. We found the problem of the U.S. as a sanctuary for crime is much larger and often understated by politicians and advocates with special interests at stake.
He had been bound up with like 13 ropes from here to here, through his back belt loop, through his hands and his feet like an animal.
Laura Wilkerson is recounting the final hours of her son, Josh. He'd given a ride home to Ermilo Morales, a high school classmate and illegal immigrant with an arrest record.
He hit him so hard in the stomach that it made his spleen go into the spine and it sliced it in two. Then he tortured him by strangling him. Then he put him in a field and he set his body on fire.
Josh is among thousands of victims of undocumented foreigners who committed crimes on U.S. soil and then, through policy failures, loopholes, or mistakes, were set free to carry out more crimes.
Do you think that the problem of illegal immigrants who commit crimes in this country is bigger than some people know?
I think that it is greater than what we think.
Senator Chuck Grassley began investigating after cases like Emmanuel Jesus Rangel Hernandez. In 2013, he was mistakenly granted amnesty under President Obama's executive action. His gang membership and previous drug arrests should have excluded him. In February, Rangel Hernandez was charged with killing 4 people in a North Carolina murder spree. One of the victims, a former contestant on America's Next Top Model.
You've got an administration that thinks more highly of their interest in protecting undocumented workers than there is enforcing the law, and in the process of making that decision, violating their constitutional oath to faithfully execute the laws of this country.
We spoke to families of 5 victims who told us politics and political correctness have forced their personal tragedies into the shadows while shielding the criminals.
Especially in San Francisco, they become a protected class. Whatever they do, they get away with.
Don Rosenberg's son, Drew, was on his way home from law school in San Francisco when he was run over and killed by an illegal immigrant. Roberto Gallo had been caught 5 months earlier driving the wrong way down a street with no license or insurance. He kept driving unlicensed until the day he killed Drew. It was less than 3 miles from where an illegal immigrant allegedly shot Kate Steinle in July. Drew's case, 5 years before, wasn't featured on national news.
Do you all feel, after what happened to your loved ones, that there's, in some instances, almost a blackout in the media and elsewhere discussing this issue of illegal immigrants?
I don't feel it. It is.
We know it. We know it.
Sabina Durden's only child, Dominic, was a 911 dispatcher. He was driving his motorcycle to work in 2012 when he was hit by an illegal immigrant with a long rap sheet.
He had a prior felony conviction, then he had a DUI. And he got put on probation with a DUI, even though he had no license, no insurance, and no registration. So then he had another DUI while he was on probation for the first DUI.
2 months later, he was still driving without a license when he killed Dominic.
Have people looked at you as if you're some sort of prejudiced person because of speaking out on behalf of your loss?
I've been called racist. Then I show him the picture of Dominic. Dominic was half black. What else you got? Can't call me a racist. Then they come with the anti-immigration, and then I share with them that I became a citizen. I immigrated here.
It's not easy to find how often illegal immigrants commit serious crimes in the U.S. The federal government doesn't publicize the numbers. Senator Grassley demanded them from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. What he got was astonishing. In 2013 and 2014 alone, ICE set loose more than 66,000 illegal immigrant criminals who had over 166,000 convictions, 30,000 for drunk or drugged driving, 414 kidnappings, 11,000 rapes or other types of assaults, and 395 homicides. Already, thousands of those criminals have been convicted of new crimes in the U.S., including felonies and gang offenses since their release. Mesa, Arizona police officer Brandon Mendoza witnessed the revolving door firsthand.
It would be very disheartening for him to feel that the guy I just stopped tonight was a guy I stopped 2 months ago. Mom, he's back.
Criminals like Raul Silva Corona, who lived illegally in the U.S. for 20 years while committing crimes like burglary, assault, and leaving the scene of an accident.
911, what is your emergency?
Yeah, there's a guy going southbound on the northbound lane on the 51. He's going 80, 90 miles an hour.
On Mother's Day last year, Silva Corona got drunk and high on meth, drove 31 miles the wrong way on freeways, and ran head-on into Officer Mendoza's car, killing them both.
I was furious, and especially when I found out that he had committed crimes previously and had been allowed to stay in our country and had not been punished for anything that he had done.
By ICE's count, illegal immigrants convicted of crimes then released went on to commit 121 more homicides in the U.S. between 2010 and 2014.
My nephew was number 122.
Mike Ronnebeck's 21-year-old nephew Grant was clerking on the graveyard shift at a Mesa, Arizona convenience store in January when he was attacked, allegedly by an illegal immigrant with an arrest record. That record included burglary, sexual assault, and kidnapping, charges he pled down to felony burglary and probation.
The crime that this illegal alien committed was to burglarize a woman in her house, holding her hostage for a week, naked, threatening her. Day 792 of this man waiting for his bond hearing or his deportation hearing, he killed my nephew, Grant. The man shot him point blank in the face, killing him.
When we come back, we'll hear from the head of ICE and an ICE agent who details the frustrations of his job.
We have to sit back and watch people die. That's not an exaggeration.
For tens of thousands of illegal immigrants, the U.S. has become a sanctuary for crime. A spokesman from Immigration and Customs Enforcement told us it is focused on smart, effective enforcement that prioritizes the removal of criminal aliens. But Congress has repeatedly asked ICE to explain why then so many dangerous criminals are set free.
I cannot deport any individual without an order from the court, either an immigration court or a federal court.
Right, and if you sought that order, you could deport thousands of these individuals, and you're not trying to do it.
At a hearing in April, Congressman Lamar Smith grilled ICE Director Sarah Saldana.
You know, the criminal justice system releases murderers, rapists, sexual assaulters every day when a federal judge decides, you know, this person does not present a flight risk or a safe danger to the community. That's the same considerations the law and the regulations.
Yes, the law allows you to deport these individuals if you want to.
Senator Grassley says he's heard from one whistleblower after another inside ICE claiming they're told not to do their job.
Ignore the laws. Just do everything you can to have people that ought to be deported to be able to stay in this country.
So it's not, in their view, always an accident that people who've committed crimes are allowed to stay.
The people that have to make that decision are told to make that decision. When they get the orders from the top and they don't do it, they're going to lose their job.
We spoke to an ICE agent who told us the same thing. He asked not to be identified for fear of losing his job.
We have to sit back and watch people die. That's not an exaggeration. We have people finding them killed. That happens every day. That's the most horrific thing, is to know that you have the ability to prevent this. And the government would rather not offend anybody than keep people from dying.
I know that this country welcomes immigrants. This country was built by immigrants, but we're also a country of laws. And when we have people that cross our borders that don't have the same respect for our laws that we do. It bothers me, and it bothers me that we can't hold them accountable.
This administration, in too many cases, has turned a blind eye to enforcement.
Don Rosenberg attended a congressional hearing in July, convened after Kate Steinle's death. He lashed out when an advocate said illegal immigrants should not be judged by a few bad apples.
Thousands of people, not a few.
45 House Republicans have co-sponsored Kate's law to mandate 5 years in prison for any undocumented alien who returns to the U.S. after being deported, but the bill has stalled.
We're just collateral damage in their attempt to garner votes on the left and donations, financial donations on the right. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Greg Chen is an advocate for illegal immigrants with the American Immigration Lawyers Association, or AILA.
What AILA cautions is that lawmakers not jump to the conclusion of trying to punish the immigrant community and scapegoat them.
He referred us to a study showing most immigrants are law-abiding.
There's no indication that immigrants are any more likely to commit a crime than anybody else.
Isn't it true that the study doesn't break out the illegal immigrant population specifically? So we may assume that they don't commit crimes at a higher rate, but we don't really know.
You're right, it doesn't break out that particular population of unauthorized versus those who are here legally.
In the end, Chen says the best way to track those who are dangerous is to allow all illegal immigrants in the U.S. to become documented.
It's both good for America in terms of national security and public safety, but benefits the economy, as well as immigrant families and businesses.
The families of the victims say they're weary of being treated as if their rights and interests take a back seat to those who wouldn't be here if laws were enforced.
The leniencies that our government is showing these illegal criminals is costing innocent Americans their lives.
For me, it's being a mom who lost her only child and my best friend. It's about right and wrong. Has nothing to do with race. Has nothing to do where you come from. Mexico, Germany, Canada, I don't care where you come from. You gotta do it the right way. Because we're losing too many kids, we're losing too many family members, and nobody talks about it.
Some of the illegal immigrants in our report were finally deported. ICE told us it's working to focus efforts on criminals who threaten the public. That includes a new priority enforcement program intended to make sure ICE takes custody of dangerous criminals so they're not released back into the U.S. Still ahead on Full Measure, the victims of Superstorm Sandy. 3 years later and all those tax dollars, why are they still struggling to rebuild?
Every time I look at it, it just hits me a little harder that it's been 3 years and we're not home yet.
Open enrollment for Obamacare begins November 1st. But is America's individual health insurance system at risk of going under? Robert Leshefsky says quite possibly. He's Washington's go-to health insurance industry consultant who's been spot on with his Obamacare projections from the start. Thanks for joining us. The government released new enrollment projections for next year. About 9 to 11 million people will be signing up. And they said, in essence, they're a victim of their own success. It's way lower than they projected, but they claim that's because there are so few uninsured now because the program's been successful, but you see it differently.
That's a pretty good spin. When this program was first sold to the American people, we were told about 23 million people would be in the exchanges. And now they're saying after 3 open enrollments, it'll be about 10 million. In 3 years of open enrollments, the administration is now saying they're going to enroll 50% or less of the people eligible. In any kind of business, that would be seen as a huge failure, not a success.
And by your numbers, if 28 million are eligible and they're projecting 9 to 11 million, that could be as few as 1/3.
Yeah, the administration said there's a market here potential of up to 28 million people. If they just look at the people alone who are uninsured, we're still not seeing more than 50% signing up.
So why is that a bad thing? Let's assume everybody who wants insurance now can get it. Who cares if it's 20 million or 10 million?
Health insurance programs don't work if you don't sign up enough of the healthy people to pay into the premium for the people who are sick. You need a heck of a lot more healthy people to cover the high costs of the very relatively few that are sick. The industry standard is 75% of people need to sign up for a program in order to have that balance. We're way below that number, and we're already seeing that the program is not working efficiently. Just this week, we had the 9th new Obamacare co-op go broke. These co-ops are Obamacare-only insurance companies. So if you want to look at what's really going on in Obamacare, you look at these plans that only offer Obamacare insurance. Out of 23, 9 have already gone broke and been seized by the insurance regulators and are being put out of business.
And in our final seconds, you think those are the canary in the coal mine, basically, for the entire system?
They're absolutely the canary in the coal mine because they're Obamacare only. And now as we go to the open enrollment, watch for the big rate increases, the higher deductibles and copays, and the narrower networks.
All right, Robert Leshevsky, thanks so much.
Good seeing you.
And we'll be right back. Thursday marks the 3rd anniversary of Superstorm Sandy. It brought a storm surge of historic levels, causing damage second only to Hurricane Katrina in terms of cost. But after 3 years and nearly $60 billion in federal aid, you might be surprised to know that thousands are still homeless.
Who's having orange juice? Tanner, cream cheese or butter?
For the Toole family, home is a makeshift living room in a friend's garage.
I just think we've been out so long that they've adapted to the fact that where they go is home.
Jennifer Toole says it's their 5th temporary home in the 3 years since Superstorm Sandy struck the Jersey Shore and destroyed their house.
Right here you see our lot, which used to have our house, our family home.
The storm surge filled their house with 4 feet of water, muck, and debris.
You know, the furniture was soaked, and the smell was just a musty, damp, almost like a little bit of sewage mixture in there too. So you remember that smell also.
Like the Tooles, tens of thousands of families in New Jersey and New York remain displaced. Despite $60 billion tax dollars intended to help storm victims, critics say disaster relief programs were marked by red tape, bureaucracy, and incompetence.
It's that I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel.
Joe Mangino is with the advocacy group New Jersey Organizing Project, which helps storm victims. He, too, is still waiting to rebuild.
You know, we're at 3 years now, and I just don't see it ending anytime soon, and the thousands of families that are still affected by it is pretty hard to deal with.
Mangino, the Tooles, and many other families received temporary financial help from FEMA, but they were frustrated to learn they wouldn't get as much long-term help as they expected to rebuild from the FEMA-backed flood insurance program they'd paid into for years.
You know, you have a $250,000 policy, and then all of a sudden they're trying to give you a quarter of that value. It was just kind of like a slap in the face. That was the worst part of it, because it dragged on for almost 3 years.
The Tooles hired a lawyer and lodged a complaint with their insurer. FEMA got flooded with 20,000 similar complaints from homeowners who said their damages got lowballed. In response, FEMA was pressured to begin independent reviews of claims from dissatisfied victims.
I just feel bad for them. Even this whole town, not just my family. But we're like one of the last people to still not be in our home. That's really hard.
In the 3 years that they've been moving from place to place, Claire Toole has graduated from college and moved back with the family.
It's like, why our family? So my room was over towards that yellow plant over there.
While most teenagers dream of the day they get to leave home, 17-year-old Claudia wonders when she'll finally get to go back.
Having to move from one place to another, it's just hard to not be able to just call somewhere home. I miss being here and just being able to this is my home.
We're pleased to tell you we have a positive footnote. This will be the last winter the Tooles will spend in a rental. Their attorney recently resolved the complaint with their insurance company, and they got the money to rebuild. In this week's Follow the Money, the White House appears ready to jump on the standing desk bandwagon using your tax dollars. The National Journal found a White House contract solicitation online for up to $700,000 worth of trendy new desktops that fit on current desks and allow workers to stand instead of sit. Some think it's healthier. The price tag represents the government's best cost estimate over a 5-year period. The request was posted during Washington's infamous September spending spree, when many government agencies go on an end of the fiscal year buying binge because if they don't, the budget they have, if they don't spend it, they lose it. Wednesday, the Republican presidential candidates meet in Colorado for their third debate. It's been an interesting week for some candidates. In case you missed it, here's our campaign incredible to bring you the week in 60 seconds.
I have been racking my brain about what more could have been done.
I don't care if you send it by Morse code, carrier pigeon, smoke signals.
We want,
well, I'll tell you what, let's do this.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth. Well, that's what we want to have.
But while I will not be a candidate, I will not be silent. I intend to speak out clearly and forcefully.
And frankly, I really want to run against Hillary. I really do.
You made a really deep cut. And baby, now we got bad blood. Hey!
I don't actually think about the other people who are running. I just think about the message.
It's my hair. I swear.
Or a guy who has one pair of clean underwear. That's a joke. All right. Please don't write it down. That was a joke. Joke. I have an ample supply of underwear.
Glad to hear that, because it's going to be a long campaign. And one final measure, we'd like to share some of your feedback and suggestions for our program. Ron wants us to look into IRS cheats that file tax returns using the identity of others to receive their funds. MTJ tweeted, "Excellent summary of Benghazi timeline." Mr. O'Donovan added, "This to me is must-see TV." Aaron disagreed, calling the show more frothy fodder to the gullible. That's hard to say 3 times, frothy fodder. We welcome your comments. Make sure you like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Full Measure News, and find us online for added clips and more fearless reporting at fullmeasure.news. Thanks for watching. I'm Cheryl Atkinson. Until next time, we'll be searching for more stories that hold powers accountable.